Well, folks, it's time to talk about a movie that I honestly didn't think I was ever going to talk about. But the day has come. I have finally seen Parasite. This video is about 6 months in the making. Why? Because Parasite originally came out in October of last year. I was fully expecting it to come to my local theater, see it upon its debut, and then review it. But it never came. I waited until Friday because sometimes a new movie will come out on Friday and won't have a Thursday night showing. And it didn't come then. So I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe it's doing like a press run and then it'll come the next week. 1 week turned into 2, then 3, then 4, and then it became a month, and then 2 and 3, etc. Around month 3, I said to myself, okay, if it hasn't come by now, it's never coming. So I just decided I'll just catch it on DVD. But it would not go away. Every review I read/watched said that this was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Film Twitter was extolling its praises every time I opened up my Twitter app. I couldn't get away from it. It was like mocking me. It's like, haha, you can't see me. And I'm like, God, what is the deal? One day I even looked into it. I was like, it was in my state, but it was only in one theater that was even relatively close to me. And it was a 5-mile drive straight south to Miami. And I love movies, but not enough to drive 5 hours to Miami to see one. And then the Oscar buzz started, and then it won Best Foreign Film, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, and then Best Picture. And I guess winning Best Picture meant, oh, you can finally release it national. So then Parasite got its biggest expansion, and it finally came to my theater 6 months after its debut. I feel like it's been 84 years, but regardless, I was like, okay, it is now here. I have no more excuses. I grabbed my friend. We both went to see it. We bought our tickets. We sat down. We saw all 2 hours and 12 minutes of Parasite. And here we are. I normally don't take any stock in the Oscars. At least not anymore. They normally nominate films that I wouldn't go out of my way to watch. And a lot of times they would just nominate someone for the wrong movie when they should have nominated for this. And it's just like the Oscars and me were like oil and water. We just do not mix, and I completely understand that. However, having seen Parasite, I can safely say that they made the right call in terms of Best Picture, because Parasite is excellent. And just before I dive into the plot, I'll try and keep things relatively spoiler-free. I don't know how many of you have actually seen the movie. However, I'll talk about some details, and when I do, I'll give plenty of warning. But for now, I'll try and keep this relatively spoiler-free. Parasite tells the story of two families, the Kims and the Parks. The Kims are like dirt poor. They virtually live underground in like a house that's about as big as this room. But when the oldest child gets a recommendation from his best friend to be interviewed by a rich family called the Parks, he jumps at the chance. And he eventually gets hired on by the family as an English translator. And he soon gets his entire family to be employed there. The boy's mother becomes the servant. His father becomes the driver, and the daughter masquerades as an art psychology major. Makes about as much sense as gender studies. And again, keeping it spoiler-free, soon their con goes very, very, very wrong. The biggest compliment that I could give this movie is that the acting across the board is phenomenal. My favorite actor of the bunch was the father, played by, wait, let me read his name right, Kang Ho Song. I hope I said that right. because he was really good and I don't want to insult him by screwing up his name. He had a lot of the funniest lines. He was just my favorite character of the bunch. He was a very steady hand with the family. It was clear that he had made mistakes along the way, but at the same time, he felt like he had atoned for them and was trying to do better. I liked that. I liked the spirit of that. But with that said, I liked every actor in this. Like, it was all done, like, incredibly well. And I have a feeling that some people will be turned off by this movie because it is Korean and there is, like, maybe 10 sentences worth of English told because the older boy is an English translator as his profession. However, since the movie wasn't all Korean, I followed it just fine. So, similar to a movie like Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, which was all done in ancient Mayan, I followed it just fine by what the characters were doing and putting two and two together. And because this movie won Best Picture, there has been kind of a mini war going on between people that love this movie and people that love Joker. People have said that Joker's overrated and that Parasite is brilliant, and the other way around. Now, having seen both movies, I do have an opinion. They're both great. People may not want to admit this, but Parasite and Joker share similar themes. Not just eat the rich, but they play off of the fact that the rich have become so rich that they have completely forgotten everything else outside of their own little world. And so when the Kim family essentially takes over the Parks family home, the Parks just barely notice it. They don't even go through like employee screenings. They're like, "Oh, really? You're good at this thing? Well, you're hired. Get in here." And similar to Joker, Parasite plays off of the thing of the rich have become so disconnected from the poor that the poor are like down here and the rich are like right up here. And the poor can just move right in and the rich just be like, "All right, get in, get in, get in, get in." It's kind of like this throwaway line that I heard in one of my favorite action movies, The Mask of Zorro. I almost said the sequel that nobody talks about. In this line, Anthony Hopkins is masquerading as Antonio Banderas' servant. They're trying to get intel for this, on this Don that they are trying to stop from buying California. It sounds crazy, but the movie's actually really good. But Banderas is playing the aristocrat, and Hopkins is playing his servant. And Banderas is worried that their disguise might be blown because the Don that they're going after and Hopkins' character are enemies. And Banderas is like, "Well, what will we do if the Don recognizes you?" And Hopkins says, "Don Montero considers himself a true nobleman, meaning that he will never look a servant in the eye." When I heard that line, I was thought to myself, okay, so you're relying on a dude's manners to get you by? That's not a lot to go on. Like, in the words of Henry Cavill from Mission Impossible Fallout, hope is not a strategy. But that line does apply not only in Joker, but also in Parasite. Because in Parasite, I was thinking to myself, the Parks consider themselves true noble men or noble people. Ergo, they will never look their servants in the eye, meaning the Kims could just sneak right on in without them noticing. It was a throwaway line in a 90s action movie, and it came full circle in Parasite. Like, genius stuff. Does Parasite affect my top 10 of 2019? I really don't know. I don't like changing around lists, but I think I may have to make an exception, or at least expand it to like a top 11, I suppose. But yeah, Parasite is amazing. It's one of those movies that I can't say I have a problem with. It's perfect. Like, I can't think of any flaws with it. It is just perfect. But that is all for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed my kind of long-winded video on Parasite. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like. If you saw Parasite and have your thoughts, leave them in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications, meaning that when a new video comes up, you will be the first to know. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you in the next one.